With the advent of shorter format of the game, a lot has changed for the bowlers, and the ability to bowl a slow ball is vital. Not only one, sometimes you may be required two, or even three options in order to be effective, particularly in the one-day and T20 formats. What is an orthodox delivery? Orthodox delivery is when you get your wrist behind the ball, it comes out and presents itself in that way, straight down the pitch, and you create a lot of speed and momentum and force down the wicket by a flick of the wrists. The wrist stays nicely behind it and the ball is thrust forward. Okay? So that makes the ball go down the pitch and comes out with a little bit of pace. When you're trying to bowl a slow ball, as I mentioned, deception is the key. You need to try and create the same arm action, the same speed of delivery, so it's very difficult for the batsman to pick up that there's been a change. But the change-up comes in the fact that you don't have the same force going behind the ball. Maybe you've rolled your fingers down the side or it's come out between the middle of the fingers. That deception will create the ball coming out slower and hopefully do for the batsman. So he commits to playing a certain shot, and only when it's too late he realizes, hold on, something's changed, the slow ball's been bowled, and it gets him into trouble. Well, I'm actually going to touch on 8 different options today, and we're going to have a look and see those different variations. First of all, we're going to go to the 2 options. There's 2 different options of the orthodox slower balls that have probably been around for 20, 30 years. What those are is, first of all, it's an off cutter. So you present it up like that in a normal delivery, and at point of delivery you just roll your fingers across it and it comes out a little bit like an off spinner, sometimes grips in the surface, comes out slightly slower and maybe gets a little bit of turn. A leg cutter is a similar kind of option. You get it into that position, and instead of your hand rolling straight down, you roll down the left-hand side of it, and it comes out a little bit like a leg spinner. First of all, we'll have a look at the off cutter. You can see the position of the hands as we'll pause it at the top. There we can see. So it's an orthodox position, and then you'll watch the fingers just roll across it as we roll it on. So it's hard to pick, and there's just a slight variation. It just comes out a little bit like an offie. And because it hasn't got the full fingers behind it, you're going to get a little bit of pace variation. We go to the leg cutter, which is very similar. It's just with your fingers rolling down the other side of the ball. You'll see that the fingers are presented upright, and that as we roll it across, the ball comes out the leg side of the delivery. There it's perfectly presented like a normal straight up seam delivery. And it comes out like a little bit of a leg spinner in that process, right? And that should deceive the batsman, and hopefully when it gets down the other end, you'll get a little bit of grip down that side as well. Now we extend those 2 slow balls and take it to the next level of an off cutter. So as we talked about, normal off cutter, you just roll in the fingers. I call this is the one that was my stock standard slow ball delivery. What I used to do is I used to move it into my fingers just a slightly more into this finger over here, and I wanted the ball to come out in that motion. Okay, so I don't have the roll in it like an off cutter. I wanted it to try and come out the back of my hands in that position. There you can see the position in the hands. It's sitting slightly higher in the hand, and I'm ready to go. You roll that one on, and it comes out the top with a lot more air than your normal delivery was. You can see how it comes out the side of the hand. The ball pops up into the air, and that comes out with a lot more dip and a lot more loop. There's a nice release of the position. It comes out with a much higher trajectory than a normal delivery, but the same arm action, and I think that's the key to that delivery. The leg cutter is taken to the next degree. Ian Harvey was the first person I ever saw do it really, really successfully, and it's called the back of the hand delivery. So it's a leg spinner, but comes out the back, almost like a googly for a leg spin bowler. And it's a very difficult one to master, because you've got to sort of get your shoulder forward and allow the ball to come over the back of the hand and then out. The most effective thing about this is when you get it right, the seam comes in a beautiful presented position. So if the batsman hasn't picked it up from the hand, it's difficult for him to work out, because it looks like a normal seam and delivery, unlike the off cutter and leg cutter where you've cut across and you can pick up the change of the seam. Presented in a normal position, it looks like a normal seam and delivery, and then last minute you just turn your wrist around, and there you can see how it comes out the back of the hand on the left hand side of the screen there, and that's the effect you're trying to create. I managed to get this one right, and as it came out, the seam was in a really nice position. There's 4 more deliveries that we're going to go to. First of all, I'm going to go to is the split finger delivery. This is the one that Glenn McGrath used to great effect. So you run up normally, present your seam in that position, just at the last minute you change, and you just adjust your fingers to get them nice and wide, right? As we mentioned, a normal delivery, you've got the 2 fingers behind. That creates a force, that creates energy. As soon as you open it up like that, it's got nothing behind it, right? So it comes out with a soft position. There's the position. I've already adjusted that, so that hopefully the batsman hasn't picked it up in that position. The seam, your wrist is in a normal position like you're trying to bowl it down to the batsman, and then we roll it on to have a look at the delivery, and you'll see how it slides out between the two fingers and it comes out with no revolutions. As the ball's released, that's the position that it comes out, so hopefully he hasn't picked it up, and it's got absolutely no revolutions on it when it comes out. So no fingers behind it, comes out completely like that. The next one is a knuckleball. Shaun Pollock, for me, was the best exponent I've ever seen of that. It's also a very difficult one to master. You have to practice it a lot, and he always used to tell me how he used to grow these nails just a little bit so that he could get some grip on the seam. And you present your hand, and then as you're rolling it back, you roll it back into this position, and you grip it into the seam like that, and now all it is basically coming off the knuckles. Okay, so your finger stays in that same position, this one's coming off the knuckles. You bowl it in the same direction, but once again, no fingers behind it, nothing to create revolutions. The ball comes out almost floating down the wicket. There's a lot of guys who bowl in that superbly well. It's just coming off the knuckles, so it's ready to go. You roll that on, and you'll see it comes out with absolutely no force. You have to hold on to the ball pretty tightly to try and make sure, but as it comes out there, we can see there's no fingers behind it, and you roll it on a slight bit, and you'll see that there's no revolutions. So it comes out with no spinning, and that's got no force. The two more variations that we've got, one's pretty simple, it's easy to learn, and it's probably been around for a lot longer than people can remember. Some guys actually just bowl like this normally. We always have the two fingers, and this finger over here sits underneath the ball. Okay, that's how you get the most leverage from your seam position. This next slower ball is you almost grab it with three fingers, so you push it way back into the hand. Okay, you can see how deep I've got that into my hand, and that's where the variation came. So I bowl it normally, the arm comes over from as high as possible, same speed, but because it's so far in, it hasn't got the leverage you have when you've got it loose in your fingers, so it doesn't come out with the same pace. It comes out a little bit slower. You can see how the third finger is now on the ball. We roll that on, and it just comes out with a good seam position. Nothing changes from a wrist position. You put it into your strong position, the seam comes out upright, so that's another good variation because it looks like it's coming up as a seam up delivery, but the fact that it's so deep in your hand just means it comes out maybe 5 or 10 kilometers slower. The last slower ball that we've got is one that Brett Lee bowled to great effect, and is particularly effective when you've got the new ball in your hands because you want the ball to try and shape. The speed comes from your wrist position being strong like that, and you're flicking it down the pitch. Okay? What Brett Lee did, instead of flicking it in the forward motion, he used to flick down the back of it. So his fingers used to come down here, and he didn't used to flick it on. It almost just used to allow the wrist to slide down the back of the ball. So that means it didn't come out with as much force, but it came up beautifully seam up. And he often used to get the ball to shape away, because it was a stock delivery, away swinger, and it comes out nicely and just goes down the pitch and swings away. It's in its normal position, as a normal seamer would be. You're ready to bowl it. And as you get into that delivery, instead of flicking it, you just try and slide the wrist and the fingers down the back of it, and it comes out with no revolutions. You notice there that the fingers of mine didn't commit to the delivery. They didn't flick forward. They just stayed in their initial position, and the ball comes out with just the arm action. It's all about deception, trying to create something for the batsman that he's not aware of, something nice and slow, something nice and different. You have to practice these, and if you want to play T20 cricket in particular, you have to come up with 2 and 3 options. There's some food for thought. I hope you enjoyed my insights.